born great already. So long future and happy future to this Gaica initiative. Je suis très content d'être là avec vous. J'attends qu'on termine les photos officielles pour qu'on puisse démarrer officiellement. Je pense que ce qui nous rassemble ici aujourd'hui, c'est un hub africain. Aujourd'hui, on parle d'un hub tunisien, on parle d'un hub. Je ne vais pas commencer à citer d'autres pays, sinon tout de suite, je ne veux pas froisser les autres, mais on parle de plusieurs hubs en Afrique. Mais réellement, aujourd'hui, est-ce qu'il y a un vrai hub d'intelligence artificielle? Telle est la question. Et peut-être notre salut viendrait d'un hub commun, que l'Afrique soit un hub aujourd'hui pour l'intelligence artificielle. L'Afrique parce que c'est un continent jeune, l'Afrique parce que c'est un continent qui a beaucoup de ressources, l'Afrique c'est un continent où il y a beaucoup d'énergie, il y a des ressources vertes également, des minéraux verts et aujourd'hui l'Afrique a tout le potentiel pour être un hub pour l'intelligence artificielle. Maintenant, certains pays sont en train de prendre le lead, la Tunisie en fait partie et c'est tout à fait normal, mais c'est ensemble et en collaborant ensemble qu'on pourra atteindre cet objectif. Aujourd'hui, il y a des places montantes de par le monde. On parle aujourd'hui, on parle même pas des États-Unis, on parle de la Silicon Valley, on parle de Pékin, on parle d'attractivité aujourd'hui des AI native investments et à eux deux, à ces deux villes, à la Silicon Valley et à Pékin, ils attirent aujourd'hui 60% des investissements pour les startups en IA et pour l'innovation en IA, c'est vous dire. Donc aujourd'hui, je pense que l'Afrique doit travailler ensemble, une Afrique, mais on peut respecter bien évidemment parce qu'on sait que l'Afrique est multiple. Voilà, je ne vais pas refaire tout ça en anglais. I just want to make sure for the last time, if you need translation, most of the opening ceremony is going to be in Arabic. So if you need translation, the equipment is in the back of the room. Last call for that. If you're okay, so we can start. شكرا لكم. إذا مرة أخرى حاولت نتكلم بثلاثة لغات ولكن فما فريق كامل للترجمة بما نريد برشا أشخاص ما خذوش ترجمة قلت خلي نربحهم شوية الوقت والتعب يعطيهم صحة. En tout cas, toute équipe de voilà, ils sont là-bas, tous les interprètes, bravo. Ils sont toujours pas loin. On va commencer cette cérémonie d'ouverture. Je suis fier de démarrer cette première cérémonie d'ouverture officielle des conférences du Gaica pour sa première édition. Et on va démarrer bien évidemment avec Monsieur Hichem Turki, CEO de Novation City, les organisateurs, les co-organisateurs et ceux qui nous accueillent aujourd'hui dans ce magnifique espace de congrès. Et il y a encore beaucoup de choses qui vont arriver à l'avenir. On peut l'applaudir, c'est Hichem.
Madame la représentante de l'ambassade d'Allemagne, monsieur le représentant du président de Kenya qui nous honore d'être parmi nous aujourd'hui. Permettez-moi de faire mon discours en anglais, vu que nous avons beaucoup d'experts et d'amis anglophones qui sont arrivés d'Afrique. Donc, je vais dire mon mot en anglais. It's a great honor and a true pleasure to welcome you once again to Sousse for the second day of the Global AI Congress Africa, Gaica 2025. Seeing this hall filled again this morning is a strong sign of the interest, the commitment, and the shared ambition that bring us together here. Yesterday marked the memorable opening for this first edition. The energy we witnessed from the very first minutes created a momentum that exceeded all our expectation. Throughout the day, we saw inspiring interventions from leading international and African speakers who shared visions, strategies, and concrete experience that will undoubtedly guide the development of all across the continent. Their messages were powerful, clear, and full of hope. Our exhibition also came alive with exceptional enthusiasm. Across all pavilions, companies, startups, innovators, and institutions showcased impressive technologies and real solutions addressing African and global challenges. The exchange between exhibitors and visitors were rich, constructive, and full of potential collaborations many participants told us that the atmosphere felt like a genuine ecosystem at work, dynamic, open, and ready to innovate. At the center of this energy stands our hackathon, which continues to be one of the strongest elements of Gaica. For 2 days now, young talents have worked day and night, combining creativity, technical skills, and determination. I want to express my deep gratitude to Anavid and Polytech SUS, whose remarkable involvement, coordination, and support have been essential in making this hackathon an inspiring success. The team's solutions reflect not only technical mastery, but also a deep understanding of the real-world challenges that AI can address. The level of commitment from these young innovators is a testimony to the talent that exists in Tunisia and across Africa, talent ready to take the continent forward. The conversations and connections that took place yesterday between public institutions, private companies, researchers, investors, entrepreneurs, and international organizations show a shared conviction that Africa has the capacity, the talent, and the vision to build an AI ecosystem that serves its development, its youth, and its future. More importantly, they show that Africa's contributions to global AI will be meaningful, responsible, and impactful. For those who are joining us today, allow me to reintroduce Novation City. Novation City has grown into one of the leading technology hubs in the region. Our mission is to build a strong, connected, and innovative ecosystem that brings together companies, startups, universities, and research centers. We support digital transformation, Industry 4.0, deep tech, and artificial intelligence with one goal: to make Tunisia and Africa essential players in global innovation. The creation of Gaica is fully aligned with this mission. We wanted to create a platform that brings together talent, ideas, technology, and opportunities. This event would not exist without the support of our partners. I wish to sincerely thank our strategic partners, GIZ, CDC, the World Bank, the Digital Transformation Center Tunisia, and the many innovative SMEs and startups contributing to this ecosystem. Your trust and involvement show the importance of building strong, long-term alliances to support innovation in Africa. Our platinum sponsors, Rose Blanche, Ooredoo, and especially NVIDIA, our strategic AI partner, are key contributors to this success. NVIDIA's support in generative AI, computer vision, and cybersecurity represents a major asset for the technological development of our region. Our gold sponsors, Dassault Systèmes, Keirus, Attijari Bank, and Proxim play a decisive role in strengthening this ecosystem. Our silver sponsors, LAPI, UBCI, STB Bank, and Dal Carnage, complete this solid foundation. And our knowledge partners, of course, EY, Deloitte, Reconnect, and the Tunisian AI Society bring the intellectual depth and technical expertise that enrich our content and elevate the level of this Congress. My sincere thanks also go to all the teams who worked day and night over the past month to create this event from the ground up. Anas, Marwa, Basma, Nahla, Ramla, Samar, Aya, Fahmi, and many others working behind the scenes. Their dedication, professionalism, and resilience are the true engine behind Gaica. As we open day 2, I encourage all of you to continue exploring, learning, meeting new partners, challenging ideas, and seizing opportunities. Gaica was designed not only to inspire, but also to act, to create collaborations, to launch projects, and to connect ecosystems across the continent. Africa's digital transformation is advancing rapidly, and artificial intelligence is one of the greatest opportunities of our time. Together, we have the chance to write a new chapter, one where Africa leads, innovates, and shapes the technology of tomorrow. Welcome again to Gaica 2025. Welcome to Innovation City.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hisham Turki, for these opening remarks. Now I leave the floor to Mr. Tarek Triki, Managing Director of Smart Capital, General Director of Smart Capital. Je cède la parole tout de suite à Monsieur Tarek Triki, Directeur Général de Smart Capital, sous vos applaudissements.
Merci beaucoup. Permettez-moi de faire mon intervention en français. Je serai un petit peu plus à l'aise comme ça. Monsieur le ministre des Technologies de l'Information, Monsieur le gouverneur, chers invités, j'ai l'immense plaisir de faire partie aujourd'hui de cette cérémonie d'ouverture à cet événement dédié à l'intelligence artificielle. Ce focus sur l'UA en Tunisie est extrêmement important à plus d'un titre pour Smart Capital. En effet, Smart Capital a été dédié depuis sa création à contribuer à libérer les énergies et faire émerger une nouvelle génération de startups bénéficiant de l'immense potentiel de l'innovation et de la digitalisation. En ce sens, un fonds de fonds a été créé. Un dispositif complet d'appui à l'écosystème Flywheel a été mis en place et à un moment donné, une idée avait émergé, c'était de dire que tout ce potentiel d'innovation et de digitalisation devrait non seulement profiter aux startups, mais profiter également aux PME. Et là, on trouve qu'il y a de réelles possibilités de collaboration entre startups et PME pour plus de digitalisation et plus d'efficacité. Aujourd'hui, l'IA constitue un nouveau potentiel et se greffe pour donner au fil des années de plus en plus d'élan. Parce qu'avec l'IA, nous avons de plus en plus d'impact sur les nouvelles potentialités d'innovation et les nouvelles potentialités de scalabilité. Donc, cela touche l'ensemble des domaines qui différencient une start-up par rapport au reste des entités économiques. L'IA impacte également les PME. C'est un enjeu de transformation essentiel pour elles et je saisis cette occasion pour vous faire inviter à visiter notre stand qui loge des VC, des startups et des PME également. L'enjeu est de créer plus de startups, plus d'intégrateurs et plus de métiers. L'objectif de notre présence aujourd'hui est de contribuer à montrer tout ce potentiel et de contribuer à le faire développer. Merci beaucoup à tous les présents et excellent événement. Merci beaucoup.
As you can see, the event is pet friendly and it's very important. Okay. Can you leave now? Thank you. We need the attraction or our speakers. Shukran Lik. Merci beaucoup. Thank you, dear Tarek Triki, the General Director of Smart Capital. Now I'll leave the floor to Mr. Norman Ferry, President of Innovation City. Monsieur le Président du Conseil d'administration de Innovation City, Norman Ferry, la parole est à vous, sous vos applaudissements.
Can you hear me? سيد الوزير اسمحوا لي أن ألقي كلمتي باللغة الإنجليزية حتى تعم الفائدة إذا فيها فائدة. So dear guest, I have very simple 3 messages to you. Message number 1, public-private sector organization works. You are here in a public-private sector company, which was created 10 years ago. 10 years ago, there was nothing. Now you see what you have. 10 years ago, we have 0 jobs here. Today, we have 5,000 jobs. Our aim is to create 30,000 jobs more over the next 5 to 10 years. Thank you to our investor, the government, and to our private sector investors. So Message number 2, you cannot create value alone. You have to be together to create an ecosystem, to create values. That's why we managed to see all these sponsors, investors, donors, etc., to be able to take to create this environment. And as we say in Africa, it takes a village to build an entrepreneur. So we are building real entrepreneur here. And the third one, if you are here, that means you have something to offer. So the objective of having you here is to meet together and to create value together. Our objective for you is to meet and to create value. And when good people like yourself, with good motivation, like the motivation you have, meet, good things happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Noman Al Fahri, for these inspiring words. I think you're right saying that we need to work together. That's what I was saying at the beginning, and I was very inspired by Mr. Philip here, His Excellency, and by many guests that I have had the chance to interview. Is that there is one Africa, and we need to build it together. I know there could be competition between hubs, but the funny thing is that there are still no hubs. It's like kind of a fake it till you make it. But there are hubs, of course, but I think the real hub should be the African hub, should be one African hub. And today we have some leading countries that for that, I think it's right. We have leading countries. So these leading countries could work together to make Africa a very competitive hub for AI worldwide. So thank you for your inspiring word. I would like to leave the floor now to Mr. Governor, because we're in a very beautiful city of Sousse. So before I leave it to the minister, I would like to hear from him. I know many of you enjoyed the nightlife or the day life of Sousse and the restaurants. So we're going to listen to the governor who has a special message for you. سيد الوالي الكلمة لكم. شكرا لاستقبالنا هنا في سوسة بحدكم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين، والحمد لله رب العالمين، وبه نستنير ونستعين. سيد الوزير، مرحبا بك في جوهرة الساحل في هذا المنتدى الأفريقي للذكاء الاصطناعي، واسمح لي أن تكون مداخلتي باللغة العربية. في الواقع يعني الذكاء الصناعي يعني بحر شاسع، وأصبح اليوم يمثل واقع أساسي وليست مجرد تقنية تكنولوجية وجب استعمالها، بل هو اليوم أصبح يمثل حاضرنا ومستقبلنا. ولكن الأهم من هذا كله هو طريقة توظيفه في خدمة البشرية. تقريبا كل التكنولوجيات ولو عدنا تاريخيا لأهم المراحل متاع التطور الإنساني في مختلف محطاتها، سواء كانت وخاصة المنطلق الكبير منذ الثورة الصناعية إلى اليوم، كانت هنالك العديد من التخوفات من الانتقال التكنولوجي أو التطور العلمي، ولكن يبقى هذا الذكاء الاصطناعي دائما محدود أمام الذكاء البشري. يعني اعتبار كونه حتى من وضع هذا الذكاء الاصطناعي هي هذه العقول، هي هذه المادة الشخمة، هي هؤلاء المفكرين، هؤلاء الباحثين، هؤلاء العلماء. فالذكاء الاصطناعي اليوم مهم لتسيير حياة البشرية، يمكن توظيفه في مختلف القطاعات الاقتصادية، يمكن توظيفه في الأمن، أمن البلدان، يمكن توظيفه في الرعاية الصحية، العديد من المجالات. ولكن تبقى نقطة الاستفهام هي كيفية توظيف هذا الذكاء الاصطناعي في خدمة البشرية وتكون دون اعتبارات أخرى. ما يلزمش تونس تكون تتخلف على هذا الركب، كنا دائما سباقين وحاضرين في مختلف المنتديات، وهذا المنتدى جاياك 2025 ان شاء الله تكون مخرجاته يتم الاخذ بعين الاعتبار نتاعها، وتكون الامباكت تغي بينيفيك على كافه الحاضرين ومختلف الدول، وافريقيا هي راهي مستقبل العالم، والبوابه ان شاء الله تكون من تونس، وان شاء الله ديما تونس بخير وكافه دول العالم بخير. وشكرا على سعه صدركم والانتباه.
شكرا لكم السيد سفيان تنفوري على هذه الكلمه. ce qui a retenu, moi, ce que je trouve intéressant, c'est cette adéquation de parler de recherche, d'innovation et le lien étroit avec l'innovation, avec les startups, avec les entreprises, avec le public également. Et donc, toute cette recette, je pense qu'elle peut faire en sorte que la magie opère. Et voilà, merci monsieur, monsieur le gouverneur. On a remarqué aussi les jeux de mots à être à Sousse, au bord de la plage et d'avoir Bahar min al-Dhaka al-Istina et toutes ces références subliminales à Sousse, c'est très bien fait. Merci beaucoup. Shukran lik, Saïd Wali. الكلمة الآن للسيد سفيان الميسي وزير التكنولوجيا والمعلومات والاتصال. كلمة لكم سيد الوزير.
بعد هذه الكلمات بالإنجليزية والفرنسية وكلمة السيد الوالي لا يمكنني إلا أن أتكلم بالعربية. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين عليه نتوكل وبه نستعين. السيدات والسادة الكرام، أصحاب السعادة والضيوف الكرام، شركائنا المحترمون، الحضور الكريم، يشرفني ويسعدني أن أتوجه إليكم اليوم بمناسبة افتتاح مؤتمر Global AI Congress Africa 2025. هذا الحدث الذي يجمع هنا في تونس في مدينة سوس الجميلة جوهرة الساحل نخبة من رواد الرقمنة ومفكري الغد والمبتكرين من إفريقيا والعالم، إضافة إلى المسؤولين العموميين الساعين لدفع التحول الرقمي في مجتمعاتنا. اسمحوا لي بداية أن أرحب بجميع الوفود الدولية الإفريقية منها والعربية وكل دول العالم الحاضرين اليوم. أن حضوركم معنا اليوم يعكس المكانة المتنامية التي باتت تحظى بها إفريقيا على الساحة العالمية في مجال الذكاء الاصطناعي. ويشرفنا أن نستضيفكم في تونس، العاصمة المنفتحة والمتصلة والعازمة دائما على التوجه نحو المستقبل. سيدات والسادة، تظهر لنا التجارب الحديثة أن التحولات التكنولوجية الكبرى كانت دائما قوة تعيد تشكيل التوازنات الاقتصادية في العالم، واليوم يقف الذكاء الاصطناعي في قلب هذه التحولات. وللمرة الأولى لا تنطلق إفريقيا متأخرة، بل تتقدم بإمكانات فريدة تغذيها طاقة الشباب وروح الابتكار والقدرة على التكيف السريع مع التقنيات الرقمية. ومع توقعات ببلوغ عدد الشباب الأرقة مليار شاب بحلول 2050، تمتلك قارتنا رأس مال بشري استثنائي. وإذا أحسننا تأطيره وتكوينه وفتحنا له سلاسل القيمة العالمية في مجال الذكاء الاصطناعي، فستصبح أفريقيا قادرة على التحول إلى منطقة استراتيجية للإنتاج والبحث والريادة الرقمية والابتكار التكنولوجي. ويندرج هذا المؤتمر في هذا الإطار تحديداً، فهو ليس حدثاً عابراً بل منصة للتفكير والتعاون والعمل المشترك بين الفاعلين الحكوميين والخواص والأكاديميين والمؤسسات المالية. سيدات والسادة، تعتز تونس باستضافة هذه الدورة الإفريقية. قد راكم بلدنا عبر العقود خبرة طويلة في مجالات الرياضيات والهندسة وعلوم البيانات وتكنولوجيا المعلومات، وبفضل هذه الخبرة نجحنا في بناء منظومة رقمية متكاملة تستند بالأساس إلى كفاءات مشهود لها عالميا، شركات ناشئة تتصل بالابتكار الرقمي، وكجسر للتعاون بين أفريقيا وأوروبا والعالم العربي وبقية. السيدات والسادة، أمام هذه التحولات المتسارعة التي تفرضها تقنيات الذكاء الاصطناعي، اختارت تونس أن تتعامل مع هذا الواقع الجديد بمسؤولية ووضوح عبر تبني مقاربة تقوم على الذكاء الاصطناعي المسؤول والأخلاقي وأساسه خدمة الإنسانية. وتتجسد هذه المقاربة في 4 التزامات رئيسية. أولاً، حوكمة أخلاقية وشفافة، إذ نعمل على تطوير إطار تشريعي حديث يضمن حماية البيانات وشفافية الخوارزميات واحترام الحقوق الأساسية لكل المواطنين. ثانيا تطوير رأس المال البشري، ضاعفنا الاستثمارات في التكوين وإعادة تأهيل ورفع مستوى المهارات حتى يكون شبابنا صانع التحول الرقمي لا من ضحاياه. ثالثا الذكاء الاصطناعي في خدمة الإنسان والمجتمع. أولوياتنا واضحة: تسخير الذكاء الاصطناعي المسؤول لتحسين حياة المواطنين في كل القطاعات، وبالأساس في قطاعات الصحة والتعليم والفلاحة والطاقة والنقل وأيضا الخدمات العمومية. فالابتكار لا معنى له ما لم يكن في خدمة الإنسان، وهذا هو الاختيار التونسي. رابعا دعم الابتكار وريادة الأعمال. نحن بصدد وضع آليات جديدة للتمويل وشراكات بين القطاع العام والقطاع الخاص ومناطق الاختبار والتجريب لفائدة أبنائنا أصحاب المشاريع والأفكار، بالإضافة إلى حاضنات قطاعية لدعم الحلول المبتكرة التونسية والإفريقية القادرة على المنافسة إقليميا وعالميا. سيدات والسادة، أن الذكاء الاصطناعي لا ينمو في بيئة منعزلة، بل يحتاج إلى تكامل البيانات وتبادل الخبرات والرؤى المشتركة. وتواجه إفريقيا اليوم جملة من هذه التحديات، من بينها تشتت المبادرات ومحدودية البنى التحتية وهجرة الكفاءات والاعتماد على التكنولوجيا المستوردة. في هذا السياق تجدد تونس التزامها بأن تكون فاعلا داعما ومساهما في بناء جسور التعاون، فنحن مؤمنون بأن نجاحنا مرتبط بقدرتنا على العمل سويا والعمل المشترك سعيا إلى بناء مستقبل رقمي إفريقي قوي وذو سيادة ومزدهر. ونلتزم بتعزيز التعاون بين جامعاتنا ومراكز البحوث الإفريقية، دعم الشركات الناشئة والمبتكرين الشباب، تسهيل تبادل المهارات والأفكار بين مختلف الدول الإفريقية، تشجيع مشاريع الذكاء الاصطناعي في الصحة والفلاحة والتعليم والتكنولوجيا المالية والإدارة الرقمية، وأيضا جذب الشركات الدولية للاستثمار في إفريقيا ومن أجل إفريقيا. أننا ندخل اليوم عصرا جديدا، عصرا ستكون فيه الدول القادرة على استيعاب تقنيات الذكاء الاصطناعي هي الأقدر على خلق الثروة وتعزيز سيادتها وتأمين مستقبل كريم لمواطنيها. وأفريقيا ليست مطالبة بأن تقلد أو تتبع، بل هي مطالبة أن تبتكر نموذجها الخاص في الذكاء الاصطناعي، نموذج شامل، نموذج أخلاقي ومبدع وموجه لخدمة التنمية والإنسان. وتفتخر تونس بأن تكون جزءاً من هذا المسار الطموح، ويشكل هذا المؤتمر محطة مفصلية في هذا الطريق المشترك. وبروح العزيمة والثقة سنبني معاً أسس قارة تصنع مستقبلها بنفسها. شكراً لكم، مرحباً بكم في تونس. ونعلن اليوم على بركة الله افتتاح الدورة الأولى لجايكا إن شاء الله، وستكون سنة حميدة كل سنة في سوسة بحول الله. شكراً.
شكرا لكم، شكرا سيد الوزير، شكرا سيد الوزير، شكرا كل الضيوف الكرام. فما لقاء مهم باش يقوم به السيد الوزير قبل ما يغادر، عنده التزامات. نشكره مرة أخرى على حضوره معنا في الافتتاح الرسمي للدورة الأولى لجايكا. Thank you, Mr. Minister, for being here with us for this official opening ceremony of the first edition of the Gaica event. And as you said, it's going to be a new tradition here every year in Sousse, inshallah. Thank you again for joining us. So he had to leave. I'm very pleased now to announce we have a video on opening the roots of intelligence, opening the roots of intelligence. And after that, I have the pleasure to have with me Jacqueline Groth, who's representative of the German embassy in Tunisia, but she's much more than that. And I was very happy earlier when I was trying to explain my point of view of the situation. She was the only one. She was like, yeah, it's interesting facts. Thank you for encouraging me. I don't know if it was that interesting, but thank you for being there all the time. And she's going to be with Noam El Fehri. That's going to be in a few moments on this stage. But before that, we are going to watch together the video opening the roots of intelligence. Watch on the screen, and we get back right after it.
Before there were machines, before the word intelligence had meaning, there was Africa. Here, on this soil, the human mind first looked at the stars and asked why. Here, curiosity lit the first flame. From the desert carvings of Tassili to the geometry of the Nile, from the hunter's instinct to the poet's song, Africa was not just the cradle of life, it was the cradle of thought. We counted before we wrote. We healed before we were conquered. The scholars of Timbuktu wrote of stars and medicine. The builders of Egypt calculated the impossible with sand and shadow. In Carthage, strategies were drawn that still echo in academies today. Knowledge was not a luxury, it was survival. Curiosity was our wealth. Every drumbeat, they created discovery. Knowledge was not a miracle, it was a habit. An act repeated until it became a civilization. They built the foundations not of kingdoms alone, but of logic, of architecture, of mathematics and medicine. In the hum of trade, in the quiet of libraries, in the pulse of thought, the mind of Africa grew, unbroken, unending. Through every generation, the same fire passed on. The world called us primitive while using the maps we made, we charted, the numbers we taught. But even in silence, the African mind whispered. It remembered, waiting patient like a seed under dry ground, waiting for the rain. The rain has come. In the glow of screens, in the rhythm of code, the drums of Africa sound again. Not of battle, but of creation. From Tunis to Kigali, Nairobi to Accra, Lagos to Cape Town, young minds are translating curiosity into computation. They build languages for machines, but their purpose is profoundly human. To heal, to connect, to feed, to educate. Passed from hands that carved in stone to hands that write in light. The questions remained the same, only the tools changed. They said research belongs elsewhere. They said technology is important. But the code now carries African fingerprints. In Lagos, a scientist trains AI to detect diseases from a single image. In Dakar, a team predicts harvest using satellites and mathematics older than the pyramids. In Tunis, in Nairobi, in Kigali, students build a future on laptops, sometimes with unstable electricity, but with unstoppable minds. Because intelligence is not a resource to be mined, it is a fire to be lit. And across this continent, the fire is rising. They said intelligence was imported, but the evidence is here. In every lab, every hub, every mind refusing to wait for permission. The world looks to the future for answers, but the future is looking back to the place where intelligence began. Artificial intelligence is not only about machines, it is about memory and imagination, about how we decide to use power and for whom. Africa has known pain and therefore understands empathy. Africa has known scarcity and therefore understands value. When we teach machines to think, we are teaching them pieces of ourselves, our humor, our patience, our resilience. If the next intelligence is to be truly human, it must carry the wisdom of this continent. Our story has always been about vision. Hannibal, the tactician who saw beyond the battlefield. Mansa Musa, the emperor who understood that wealth is not gold, but knowledge. Habib Bourguiba, the reformer who built a republic on education and will. Nelson Mandela, the leader who proved that freedom is a collective victory. These were not myths. They were the architects of what we are today. Their voices will speak once more, to remind us who we are and who we will become. From warriors and scholars to scientists and coders, the African mind has never stopped thinking. The world watches Africa rise again, not as a story of poverty or potential, but as a story of purpose. Because intelligence began here, and its future will be written here. This is our moment, our generation, our responsibility. The world is entering an age of intelligent machines, but Africa is entering an age of intelligent humanity. Gaica, the Global AI Congress for Africa, is where those paths meet, where innovators, dreamers, researchers, and leaders come together not to follow trends, but to shape them. This is where Africa's intelligence reunites and rises, because Africa never stopped thinking. And now, Africa never stops rising.
شمي عينيكي حنيبة على البرقة موجد ثبايوت شلقرت حداشت هأرض شلي بنيي قريم بعلي قريم يدي أو مارك جوكربيرج شقرت حداشت بل ثموت يا علوم نفتي إيدكم
Neye mansa Musa ye, mali belebele masake. Anka bonya ye, anka mogoka ni sondia ye. Anka na foloti givte sanu ye, wala negesute. Anka na foloti give ye, hadamaden ye. Nininkala, nininikela, chesirilen, animi. Anka taane ni hakilitigia ni dugawu ye.
Souvenez-vous, في خطابي عام 64 قلت لكم la seule vraie richesse est le cerveau tunisien. قلت لكم ونزيد نقول لكم المادة الشخمة هي رهان المستقبل. التقدم يجيب الإرادة بالعلم والعمل. Remember, when we are united, we can achieve the impossible. None of us working alone can reach success. Together, we will turn our dreams into reality.
That was an amazing one. Amazing video, key messages, excellent messages. And thank you again for all the organizers and the people who prepared this interview, this video. I think it will be memorable. So now, all this energy, all this event that we are attending, all these initiatives always require partners, sponsors, people that will try to help, that believe in what we are doing. And Germany is one of them. The GIZ, the German Corporation, is, I think, a key partner today to what is being done here in Tunisia around innovation, around economy, around business, around startups and entrepreneurship. And it's not giving you too much responsibility, but you will have to take it because you're about to represent all these German efforts being done here in Tunisia. I have the pleasure to announce you, Jacqueline Groth. Thank you for joining us on this stage. On peut l'applaudir. Round of applause for her. And she'll be joined in this kind of fireside chat. I think she will share comments by Norman El-Feri, our former ICT minister and president of Novation City. And I'll leave the floor to both of you. And I think we're going to start with you, Madame Jacqueline Groth. You prefer here? Yes. It's going to be easier with the papers. And thank you.
I think it's not on. Yes? Okay. Good morning, Sabah al Khair. Very warm welcome to this Gaica conference, also on behalf of German Corporation. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, dear partners, it's really a great pleasure for me to join you here today in the vibrant city of Sousse. I think Gaica is an event that brings together leading minds and creative talents in artificial intelligence from across Africa and beyond. And I think that's a very impressive achievement already. And I'm very delighted that the German government has been able to make a significant contribution to this first edition of Gaica, which of course I hope will not be the last. I would like to address in the beginning my sincere appreciation and thank you to Hisham Turkey, who's unfortunately not in the room right now, and to the entire team at Novation City for organizing this event and for building an innovation ecosystem that fosters collaboration, excellence, and future-oriented thinking. As we've seen, I think, in the very impressive video already, AI, artificial intelligence, is not simply another wave of technological progress. It is reshaping our economies, transforming governance, and influencing nearly every dimension of our societies. So today, I believe we stand at a turning point, a moment of tremendous opportunity, but also of profound responsibility. And I think as we move forward, we all share several key principles. These are: innovation must be grounded in ethics and human dignity. Risks must be managed transparently and inclusively. And technology, AI, should connect societies and not divide them. I think AI that serves society, from food security to education, health, and climate resilience, has the power to bring us closer together. But to really unlock this potential, issues such as data governance, access to computing power, and the promotion of AI talent and skills across the continent require a shared vision and collective action. In this regard, Gaica is a very unique platform, as it brings together startups, researchers, investors, and policymakers. And the diversity of participants here today is impressive. We have experts from all regions of Africa, and I think this reflects a shared understanding as a global endeavor. And of course also Europe, promoting safe and human-centered AI, investing in innovation and digital skills, and protecting data, privacy, and inclusiveness are key. And I would like to share that in this spirit, the German federal government, together with UNDP, launched just a few months ago the so-called Hamburg Declaration on Responsible AI for the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, and this leads and guides our information with African partner countries and the African Union. A flagship example of this cooperation is here in Sousse, our long-standing partnership with Novation City, a pioneer in Tunisia's digital and industrial transformation. Since 2019, through the Digital for Jobs program, Germany has supported Novation City in establishing one of Tunisia's first Industry 4.0 competence centers, and now the Novation AI Center of Excellence, which is one of the most advanced AI infrastructures in the region. And I'm very proud to share that together we have trained more than 1,000 students, upskilled 500 employees, contributed to the creation of more than 2,000 jobs, and built a pool of around 100 local experts and trainers. And beyond these numbers, the true impact for me is in the fact that we managed to contribute to include young talents across Tunisia and to promote a self-sustaining innovation ecosystem that connects research, industry, and entrepreneurship. After 6 years of very strong collaboration, we are now closing this chapter but hopefully and certainly not ending the story. Looking to the future, our goal is to ensure that AI and digitalization serve both people and the planet. By this, I mean the ability to shape one's own digital future, building trust, protecting data, and empowering users and societies. It's not about isolation, but about equal participation in the global digital world. Data and digital sovereignty will be essential to ensure that value creation remains within the region and also benefits partner countries. And ultimately, success will depend on people, on skills, on education, on research, and on lifelong learning. I wish you all a very inspiring conference, and thank you very much for this.
And thank you, Tingod. Thank you for these words. So I would like to jump on that. Actually, I'm not going to give you the floor as a speech. You already talked earlier, but I'd like to challenge you now, man. What do you think of this partnership, the importance of this partnership? What is this international cooperation, specifically here, the Tunisian-German cooperation? What does it bring to such initiatives today, as either Innovation City, because lots of work is already done with the GIZ, Innovation City, and today here with Gaica. So what do you think of that? And then I'll leave her the floor. I will allow you, if you want, also to ask a question or jump on anything or comment what you were saying. Go ahead.
First, thank you. I'd like to acknowledge the presence of our dear friend Andrea Renike, the former ambassador of Germany, with whom we started so many things. Thank you for being here again. Look, to be very blunt, I missed out something in my speech earlier. I said public-private partnership. In reality, it is a public-private development partnerships. There are things when private sector, that the business case is so obvious that the private sector will go and do it because the business case is clear. There are things where it needs so long time to happen when the public sector arrives. But sometimes there is something missing when you need the business case is practically there, but it's not there yet. That's where development partners comes along. And I would like to salute GIZ not only as a president of Innovation City, but even when I was a minister. Some of you will remember the project when we wanted to develop an army of mobile developer. GIZ came, we had the money as public. As a minister, I had the money, but it's public money. It takes time to spend. It's not flexible. But at the same time, you cannot use private money because you need the true governance. Therefore, GIZ came and filled that gap. And it's exactly what happened here in Innovation City. We have so many plans, but some of the plans couldn't have happened if we didn't have the support of our partner. And thank you very much for your support, you and your predecessors.
Thank you. Et on peut applaudir ça because this is very important.
Yeah.
It has been said. Recognition is very important. So, do you want to challenge her with a question?
I was just challenged now to challenge you. So I have, what was the best thing that you have seen during our partnerships? And what is the thing that you would like to improve more? Because we truly believe that we would like to continue on the next chapter of Innovation City, that we will continue to work together. What were you happy with and what you would like us to improve?
Good. I always thought I cannot outsource my job as a moderator, but I just tried and it worked very well. So I can leave the stage. I'll leave it to you.
Okay. Well, I wasn't prepared, so it will be a very spontaneous reaction. No, what I'm always most impressed by in partnerships such as those with Innovation City is the commitment on the one hand of our partners, and on the other hand, really the very impressive talent of Tunisian or international youth that are part of these projects. Because for us, for German cooperation, I mean, the ultimate objective is making a contribution to creating jobs, creating perspectives for young people here in Tunisia, and of course also on the continent. And it's always very rewarding to see that with projects such as these, we can have an impetus to foster talents, invest in skills, and that this really makes a difference. And I think the impact, 2,000 jobs created by thanks to our cooperation is very impressive. What I would hope for the future, I think our role as international partners is, of course, always limited. I mean, at some point, and now with Novation City, our collaboration, we are at this point, we are happy to hand over to our partners. So what I would hope is that all the efforts, all our investments are sustainable, and this, I think, requires even stronger partnerships for Novation City with the public, the private sector, and of course also beyond Tunisia. So good luck for that.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello. Hello. Thank you very much. I don't know if you read between the lines, but what she just said, we would love to work with Novation City in duplicating the same model in other places in Africa. So please come and see her later. That's what I interpret what she said. In a nutshell, the support of GIZ helped us bridge a real gap, and the real gap means jobs. Today, we created 5,000 jobs globally in this area. We are aiming to create 30,000 more over the next 5 to 10 years. This will require step up in governance, step up, which we are happy to have, and the step up in international partnerships. We are sustainable technopole. We bring back dividends to the government and to our private sector, and we have even new private sector who invested with us. So this model works, and if it can improve, we will improve it. But let's see how we can duplicate these things. And just last thing. 3 months ago, this thing didn't exist. 3 months ago, and we had a challenge. The investor, we had to fight with the investor and with the team to say, can we be ready to have the first conference center within 3 months? And I would like to salute really the team to have built this. I mean, they didn't build it in 3 months, but it was supposed to happen 6 months in March. They bring it back to now. Thank you very much for the team, and please enjoy the conference.
Thank you. I'll have a last quick question for both of you, but really a quick one, easy one normally. From your perspective, so as private sector or international development perspective, what is the single most impactful lever that Tunisia should put to take AI in Tunisia to another scale, maybe a responsible AI? And how can you help in that today as Novation City, or today as an international development, as German cooperation and through GIZ? So that's an easy one. So what can be done? There is one thing that could be done. You can start, Noman, maybe. You start, I chose you.
Okay. I'm an African from Tunisian origin, right? And I think the position of Tunisia within Africa is not really nor an investor nor a teacher. Is really trusted third party. Some people who have tried things that worked, and they would like to share that with others. The fact that we are at the cross-border, etc., give us some specific harissa, some specific, you know harissa, right? Some specific skills that helped us to build things out of nothing. Our only last night, somebody asked us, what is your natural resources? I'd said brains. We don't have anything else. And I think working together, brains in Africa, there is huge brains. We are not conqueror, we are not investor, we are simply trusted third party. We will share what we have and we will learn from other and things will happen. Thank you.
I would strongly support what you have just said. I think, yes, for Tunisia to take another leap forward in using AI, there's really a lot of potential in forging these inner African links and networks. I think Gaica is a very good example of this. It's about creating linkages between people learning from different experiences. And then, getting inspiration also that would help Tunisia create, on the one hand, I think a strong strategic and also regulating framework for the use of AI, while at the same time, of course, providing opportunities for the private sector, for investors, and for international partners facilitating these efforts to come in. So I think there's, my short answer would be strong partnerships.
Thank you, dear Norman. On peut les applaudir. Yes. So, after this very inspiring fireside chat, we can move on with our opening keynote. There are two opening keynotes. So the first one, let me tell you about the second one. It's going to be in like about 20-25 minutes with Amna Ejmal, so thought leader and top women in fintech. That's going to be next. But now we're about to have our first keynote with Dr. Islam Rakik from Tunisia, founder and director of the Basira Lab, Brain and Signal Research and Analysis, and associate professor at Imperial College London and IX Hub UK. The floor is yours. It is here. Si on peut avoir un soutien technique pour l'ordinateur, sinon on peut commencer. Voilà, technical support for the laptop, please.
Sounds good. Oh, no, not this one. Oh, it's playing automatically. I don't need it to play out. Hi, everyone, first. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. It's a great pleasure to be with you today. So I need to make sure that I control this fully. So I'm just going to go back. Fantastic. And if somebody can turn this on, please, just so I can see the slides, because they're just right behind me. Right, great. So let's get started. My name is Islam Rakik. I was born in the city of Sousse, originally from Tunisia, African, Muslim, Arab. And today, I'm gonna tell you a true story of the video that you have seen earlier. So we have a rice story from Africa, and this is my story. Great. So as researchers, as you guys know, we all start from what we call sites. So scientists, researchers, we start from the word site. Site is basically the data, the thing that we can measure. So from site, we collect data. It's the data that we quantify, that we can observe, what we can see, okay? And from sites, we derive what we call insight. Insight is the explanation of the data, trying to make sense out of the data. How can we, for example, make sense of medical data, of financial data, of entrepreneurship data, of economic data, of environmental data? So insight is what we are after using AI, partially. So that's how I decided to name my research lab. So the word insight in Arabic means basira. okay? So it stands for Brain and Signal Research and Analysis Laboratory that I founded back in 2017. So the first 3 years were so exciting. I was early career. I was a lecturer, assistant professor who joined the university. I needed to build my lab. I needed to kind of, get funding for my research. So I started simple, working on exciting AI projects with students, and we got to travel the world. We drank a lot of coffee. We hanged out by the beach in Susa over there. So the first 3 years were so vibrant. So what I want to talk to you or share with you today is the story of the beginnings, because the beginnings are the hardest, right? And especially the first 3 years. So today I'm going to tell you about the data, and then from the data, I'm going to go to what? The insight, the metadata. So this is a quick summary of the first 3 years. So here, from 2018 up to 2021, what did we achieve in numbers? How do I describe Basira Lab in numbers? We had more than 80 AI projects published in high-impact journals. We supervised 34 undergrad students, 8 masters, 7 PhD, 1 postdoc. We had top conference proceedings published in Springer. We had also mentors from Turkey, from Germany, from Tunisia, multi-international. We built collaborations with more than 10 countries within 3 years. Tunisia, we had Enizu, we had ISAT, we had ENIT, USA, Chapel Hill, Johns Hopkins, Harvard, Stanford also, UK, I collaborated with Imperial, UCL, etc. So we had Shanghai and also Korea. So next, within these 3 years, we're able to get awards, 16 awards to top students, 22 papers selected for oral presentations on stage. So organizing committee of top international conferences in AI, the top one in medical imaging in AI is MICAI, and a lot more, so more numbers. By the end of these 3 years or mid, we secured €500,000 funding for a small lab with a few people, right? And we were spotlighted, like a lot of visitors came, visited the lab website. You can see here the global map. And this is just within the 3 years. Of course, now it's been like quite a while, 8 years. So the numbers have doubled or more. So why I'm sharing this with you? So I'm sharing this with you just to tell you, how did I start out, okay? So on top of that, we were also, we had a YouTube channel with lots of codes. I made everything accessible, reproducible, shareable by my students. We had also been featured in the news, magazines, scientific international magazines. So the story starts with this. So that's all the deliverables, the measurables, the data that we got at the end of the 3 years. But how did we get there? So what I'm going to talk about in a few minutes is the rise story from the roots, as we were showing earlier. I didn't know about the video, to the shoots. So let's get started. So first, I was born in Sousse. So this is a beautiful sunrise that I actually filmed back in 2018. And the video here is actually not working, so that's fine. But you can see the boat crossing the sun as it rises. So I grew up watching sunrises, but I also loved hearing stories of rising suns. And one of the rising suns that impacted my life and inspired me is Fatima al-Fihri, and we have lots of Fihris here. So Fatima al-Fihri was born in the 9th century. Yeah, she was born in the city of Qayrawan. And, after a few years from spending her life there with her family, she moved to Fes in Morocco with her dad and her husband and her sister. So when she moved there, what happened is that her dad and husband passed away, and she was left with loads of money. Money, 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 money. So I was thinking, if I was Fatima al-Fihri in the 9th century, what would they do with that money? Big question. So imagine, I give it to you, yeah? Descendant. So what Fatima al-Fihri did, she invested in a visionary project, education. She built the first university in the world according to the book, the Guinness World Record, and that was called the Qarawiyyin University. So this university in Fas was not just a university, it was a mosque, a university. It had a huge library, and thinkers from all over the world, Jews, Christians, Muslims, and others, just came to the University of Al-Qarawiyyin to learn and contribute to science. And so that was the story of Fatima al-Fihri. And the most important thing is the legacy of books. So I wish that you guys will invest in building a huge library here, like the ones at Johns Hopkins in Baltimore. I visited it, it was amazing. So that's one of the biggest dreams I would love to see here. So that's one thing. The other thing is not just the stories we hear as we grow up and impact our lives. I grew up also reading this amazing book that is called the Quran. So this holy book has chapters spanning the whole cosmos. So it has this chapter of the sun, the moon, the star. You have the chapter of the bees. You have the chapters of the ants, the spider, the cow, etc. And the first word that was revealed is read, and you'll have access to generosity. And the only increase that I grew up with that you ask for is increase in what? Beneficial knowledge. So with these two things, reading, seeking beneficial knowledge, and you have a world of science of the whole cosmos laid upon you, I was very much inspired. And that got me started into the journey. But that's not only it. It's so important when you start something that you have masters, coaches, guides, right? Sometimes they're expensive, you cannot afford them. So how do you guys start? You start with books. So these are actually brains living on the shelf. So I was a bookworm. I read a lot of books, and this, helped me to shape my vision about how to build my career in my research lab. Also, I was very, I would say, lucky and blessed to have been mentored by Professor Dingang Shen at the University of North Carolina, where I did my postdoc. So for 2 years, these 2 years were highly transformative because one-on-one knowledge transfer is the most efficient. You get that mentor that conveys to you the experience of 25 years in literally a few months, which is priceless. And through that training, I learned how to build big projects in AI with application to healthcare and medicine. So one thing about this amazing research lab that I would recommend to everybody here is that what they had a journal club. So every week we get together and we read the top AI technical papers. And usually what you do when you guys read something, especially now tapping on your phone, you may end up forgetting this immediately, right? It's passive learning. So you need to consolidate your knowledge. And what I did is I used the method of what we call recall. So you attend a seminar, today you're going to attend a whole conference, you're going to learn so many things, but everything will evaporate from your brain if you don't actually consolidate it. So one way to do that is to sit down after a few days and to write everything what you remember. So by the end of my postdoc, I attended more than 200 talks by experts, and I had my personal 200 summaries, right? 2 years, 200 AI projects. And that's how I was inspired to start many. So discipline is important, reflection is important, and also reading is important. So if you guys want to consolidate your memory, become better at learning and everything, so you can have a look at this. I'm requesting 35 minutes. By the way, this is not my voice. I got laryngitis today, so I'm a bit shaky. So moving up next. So the equation that I wanted to ask you now, if you have a lot of ideas and you do have passion, is this enough? If you have vision, passion, is this enough to actually get something started, to found a whole lab? So what's the answer here? Who says this is enough or you need more? It's not. Very good. So generally you say it's not. So I'm going to prove you wrong. It is possibly possible. So that's the story I'm going to share today. So by the end of my postdoc, I had all this passion, all these projects, and I was appointed as a lecturer at the University of Dundee in Scotland, the UK, and I was thinking, I need to get started. So the first thing that they tell you guys is you need these 3 components for any research AI project. The first one is funding. The second one is research data. The third one is talent building. And I started with 0, 3 zeros. And the data that I showed you, by the way, was developed with these 3 zeros. Okay? So how did I start? So when you start, basically with funding, the only way that they teach you is to write grants, okay? To apply for funding, to get funders, to fund your projects. So what I did, I said, okay, first year, I'm gonna write as many grants as I can. So I wrote grants applied for Alzheimer's Disease Research UK, Cancer Research UK, EPSRC, etc. And all of these were rejected. All of them. So it's not easy. Like the chances, you have a probably 1% success rate in the UK to get your grant accepted. So it's really beating the odds. So, okay, so I was not very happy. I was, I'm not gonna change my job. I was journaling, so I'm gonna skip over this. But at the end I said, well, we need to actually be stubborn and persevere. This is where you need to persevere. When you get all these lined up rejects, you need to persevere and find an alternative solution. You need to think outside the box. And I said, well, everybody says this is the only way. Well, maybe there is another way, right? So I asked the simple question, what do I actually really need to train students and do AI projects? So you only need basically, you do not need, I would say, money. You need to know where you want to get. You need to have an exact goal, a destination. So that's so important. The second thing is, on top of that, you need to know your why you want to do this, why you want to build this, right? So having your why is so important. And I would say also, you don't need permission to start things on your own. I tell this to students all the time. Don't wait for your supervisor and your boss to tell you, go and do this thing. Just do it. You have a passion, just start your own thing, build it, and show them the numbers. That's how it works. So I had all of this in mind. I'm going to skip over just to stick to time. But the idea is that every single circle here is a project I invented. And I planned out the whole trajectory of the project from 0 to 1 with all the milestones. And I knew how I can get there. I just needed talent. I needed some students. So what I did, I shared, calls. And I had wonderful students. Actually, most of them were from Tunisia. And we built a team in collaboration with ENISO, with ENIC, with many universities in Tunisia. And I told them, guys, look, I just need discipline. If you're interested, join my lab, right? And we're going to have these weekly meetings, these weekly journal clubs, and it's going to be hard. I'm going to grind you. And I ground them, right? One is there. And Muntasar, cool. So yeah, so basically, the key message here is that all we need, as we mentioned in the video, is talent and brains. You need to build the talent. You need to build the brains. Money will come, and loads of money, believe me, so that's not a problem. So so this is, with no funding, we got 20 publications, I think 27, in 1 year. And that means 20 research projects published, okay? 0 money. And the answer to the question that I asked, is it possible? Is there another way? Yes. And the possibilities are actually infinite. So after you get to this, then definitely money will come and you'll get a lot of funding because you have credibility, you build the data, you showed the world that you can do it. So now, moving up next, quickly, rise with limited data. So the second point is research data. So when I started out, I didn't have money and I did not have data. What does it mean? I didn't have collaborations with hospitals. I work on healthcare data, okay? So it was so difficult to get collaborations, especially in the UK. It's very too much regulated. It's hard to get your hands on real clinical data. So what I said, I latched onto public data sets, open source data sets, and I started with this beautiful thing that I'm just giving you a sneak peek of my research. So this matrix right here, it represents the brain. So it's a connectivity between different zones. So what we have here, the right, every single row is a region in the brain, and the other one is another region, and it just shows you how connected or strongly connected is your brain. So literally, this encodes your brain as a graph, as a network, and we can understand what's going on in the brain by reading this matrix. So basically, if we learn how to, read these matrices, I can predict if you're feeling sad, happy, if you're inspired, hopefully, like eavesdrop on your decision processes and even your love life, just by looking at the matrix, I know if you're in love or not. So this is something fascinating. One thing I worked on also is this beautiful matrix. So this is a newborn baby. It's a baby brain, just newly born. And after 3 months, what do you guys know this? The connectivity, the network is changing dramatically, right? This is another matrix of a 75-year-old. This one is healthy, and the other one is diagnosed with mild cognitive impairment. Now, if I ask you, can you read this matrix? Can you understand the patterns? Can you depict what's going on? No, you cannot. Well, AI can, right? And that's why we are building these intelligent technologies. So going on next, what we want, the question that I try to work on for the first 5 years of my research with my lab members is this: can we diagnose early and better with limited resources? And if we solve this question, we don't solve it only for those who don't have resources, we solve it for everybody, right? So we started with this question. So in a very simple, I want to infuse some math here. So what we have is X. X is the input variable or data. It's data that is affordable to acquire, accessible, and it could be of low middle quality. And what we want to predict or generate using generative AI is X hat. X hat is data that is expensive to acquire, it is costly, and it is inaccessible and of high quality. So what we have been building is this F mapping, F of X equals X hat. We predict the good quality data at lower costs from low quality data. So that's a problem in a nutshell. And if you guys are interested, you can look at, we have more than 70 AI projects based on this published. And in the first 3 years, so I'm just going to skip this because of the time, but in the first 3 years, we had also loads of publications on this. So one thing that I wanted to show you here, what is it that we do with this generative AI? One thing simple is I take a snapshot of your brain at time T1 right now. And then I predict how your brain connectivity, intelligence, network, resilience will look like in the future. And this is using only a single snapshot of your brain image and AI models, generative AI models. So this is an example predicting the future of the brain. And we have invested a lot in developing these models. So going up next, what I want to cover is this. So in the era and the history of network neuroscience, studying the brain as a network, your brain as a matrix, literally the brain in the matrix. If you have watched the movie Matrix, anybody here? Yeah? Cool. So basically here what we have in the 1970s, people used to use simple statistical methods like graph theory. Next, we had what we call generative mathematical models. And then we moved to geometric deep learning in 2016. And in 2018, we pioneered a whole field called generative neuro AI, where we actually designed generative graph neural models to predict the brain across different dimensions. So that was a milestone that we reached. Now, moving next, if you guys are interested, so this work has actually led to lots of publications. I'm going to skip over this. Beautiful for engineers here, AI experts. You can have a look. These are technical, super technical papers. Thank you very much. So we promote fully. So I wish that every lab will promote open science. What does it mean? We need science to be open, reproducible, inclusive, equitable. And for that, you make all your source codes, all your videos, all your oral presentations available. So here we have published over the past years, since 2018, more than 75 GitHub codes that are reproducible. Anybody can download, use them to build their models, their inner technology, their startups, whatever they want. Okay, so we're big pioneers of this. So we also had all the papers that were accepted for all our presentations in top conferences on YouTube. So if the students want to learn, they can find them here. So having open science is very important. So now telling nice stories from Tunisia to the world. We were the first with these two students with collaboration with Professor Mahjoub from ENISO. They were the first to get a main MICAI paper from the whole continent of Africa in 2020. And this is top AI conference. We don't have contributions. We don't have representations. We need more people to be there from Africa attending international top AI conferences. So that's one thing on the to-do list. Also, you know, like these students will celebrate it. So Islam Hiri has all these wonderful achievements in only 3 years of her PhD, and now she's an assistant professor at the Sorbonne. So also there, but the good news is that Ala, she came back and she's now assistant professor at the University of Carthage. So we have lots of basically stories, and one of them is because of the pioneering work she's done, Ala Basadq also got the Best Women Scientific Research of the Year in 2023 from the Minister of Higher Education here in Tunisia. So you can see that a pinch gets you a long way to go. So why I'm sharing the story of Ala, actually I want to talk more about it, because Ala, when she started with me, she started as a master's student in management from the University of Gabes before joining ANISO. So she didn't know how to code. She didn't know how to write in Python. And she learned everything in less than a year with an award from Canada on her research. So what I want to say here is there is no barrier. If you are disciplined, if you look for mentorship, if there is mentorship now, even by AI agents on, on the internet, the LLM models, right? So it is possible always to crack these barriers. We don't have barriers now. This was back in 2017, yeah? So anyways, moving up forward, I just wanted to share now one last thing quickly. And this last thing is my student right here, Mesa. So she attended Mikai this year. She was the only from Tunisia who has a Mikai paper in Korea, right? She came, she got a full funding from the Mikai conference to attend and presented 2 wonderful papers on cognitive intelligence and computing. And the way to go is that this was a video I wanted to play. It's a very funny video. So how do you get students to work hard and to make them brainy? So if they have kids, you need to be very supportive and you need to make sure that you teach their babies. So in the conference, I did this recording with her little daughter, like newborn Mira, and I told her, we need to plan ahead. So definitely, we need a nature paper before you graduate, and she was nodding. We need, oral at Mikai, oral at ICME, and all these top conferences really, really hard to get to. And the baby was nodding, and I told her mom, well, she has accepted, agreed, signed, so all good, you're good to go. So anyway, so all these are wonderful stories for wonderful Tunisian women rising from here. And the last thing I wanted to share with you, it's not a story about Tunisia only. It's a story about the whole world, okay? So the last point is, when I started with this RISE story, I started from Tunisia, but I wanted to expand it to the whole world. So I went on to building what we call literally a RISE network. So I founded this network. And what is RISE? So back in 2019, we tried to geolocate the submission, the research projects submitted to this conference. And what do you guys see here? 0 from Africa, almost 0 from Latin America and Southeastern Asia, right? So this has motivated me to start a network to empower researchers to contribute to these top class A1 highly competitive conferences. And I gathered a few people. You just need to find people that are aligned with your mindset. And we started this board, the RISE board, with Shadi from Helmut, Ahmed from UCL, Galileo. We had also Guatemala, US, Bill Gates was with us, by the way, and also Esther from HeartFlow. So with this board, we built a massive network that has the mission to reinforce inclusiveness and diversity in low, middle income countries, and that's what the RISE stands for. And the mission was to basically have more geographic diversity, strengthen the presence of minority researchers in these countries, empower future stars to rise from these countries, and also building bridges. So it's important, collaborating. So building a strong research network between LMICs and across continents and different parties and top developed countries too. So within a few years, we had more than 1,000 members. A lot of them come from Africa, Hispanic, Middle East, North African, Asian, etc. And we organized several events. We organized summer schools, winter schools, tutorials. And it was fantastic because this is a colossal work and everything is online. And we had also hybrid. So hybrid, we opened hubs in different countries. So you can see basically a hub in Tunisia, a hub in Syria, a hub in Palestine, a hub in Ecuador, Guatemala, Chile, etc. And all of them are being, broadcasted at the same time. So just to wrap up in 2 minutes, one thing that I also followed up on, I started this 100 Tunisian AI program following the rise to accelerate the training of 100 Tunisian learners and gaining the solid understanding of machine learning and deep learning, and empower the next generation of Tunisian AI technical and entrepreneurial leaders. And this program has ran for 2 years, and it was also very successful. So just before I wrap up in 1 minute, what is the vision here? We had a rising story with zero funding, zero talent, zero research data that is real. And we're still, despite of that, found a different way, and we rose. And the second thing that I want to mention now is so important to build talent. So if we're going to invest, we need to invest in building disciplined and brains that are able to design, innovate, and solve problems with integrity and with also confidence. So my dream is this. My dream is to build a community of conscious learners and truly intelligent beings. Intelligent being doesn't mean just intellectual, mental. It's social, it's spiritual, it's psychological, it's, mental, all forms of intelligence discovered and not yet discovered, okay? So if you guys are interested, I'm writing a book, editing it with wonderful, wonderful writers. It's called AI, The Good, the Bad, and the Game Changer. You can Google my name. You'll find it under my website on the front page. And if you want to contribute by writing an essay, you can write, and I'm still accepting basically, submissions for this book. And the first 10 essays are amazing to read. We talk about AI, the good, the bad, and the game changer in business, in education, in healthcare, and in the military. Okay, so it's also very important for all different dimensions. You can have a look at this. And so just to wrap up quickly, finally, I want to thank all my wonderful students who contribute to this. From 2017, we had about 70. And thank you very much for listening and being patient. Okay, no questions? Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for this keynote. Oh, we would love to have questions. I think we won't have time for that. So for our next keynote, and it's a good idea what you're saying, Dr. Islam. So if our next keynote would like to have questions, you should use it from your time of presentation, which is between 20 and 25 minutes. And the next one is Amna Ajmal, as I introduced her earlier, thought leader and top women in fintech. And the presentation is starting right now about human AI.
Yeah, I can take 20. I am allocated 30 minutes. Hi everyone. Good afternoon. So a little bit about who I am. First of all, it's my first time in Sousse, a beautiful, beautiful city. So thank you so much for having me here. I left my 23-year corporate career. I've worked and lived in 14 different countries across the world, US, Middle East, Africa, Asia, and Europe. And then I left my 23-year corporate career with Standard Chartered Bank, Citigroup, and MasterCard to write a book and find my own path in terms of fintech and women empowerment by establishing my own company. So that's where I am right now. When I think about the topic of human AI, I feel that as a generation, our generation probably is one of the most fortunate ones because we are living in very interesting times. Just a show of hands, how many people remember the cassette and the pencil relationship? Okay, yeah, quite a few. So you remember the CDs, you remember the discs, the DVD players, the Walkmans with the headset, and we know Spotify also. So one of the reasons that I say that we are a fortunate generation is because we are able to transition through different kinds of technologies, and there's a new generation that probably would only know the new way of working and the new way of going through life. I also feel that we are probably the ones who carry the weight on our shoulder from a responsibility standpoint. Because at times I see leaders talking about AI as if it was some aliens who came, made AI, and then left the planet, and now we are left with it. So what do we do about it? We as humans created the AI, so it's our responsibility to figure out how we deploy it, how is it used, how to make sure it remains human. So I'm going to talk about that today. So first, what I would talk about is, I'm going to close this because I think I'm good with this. What is the negativity bias in human brain? And I'm not a doctor, I've not done a PhD. It's purely through different kinds of cross-cultural teams that I've managed across the world. Well, our ancestors needed the negativity bias to survive and thrive. Why is that? Because they were attuned to potential dangers, dangers from other tribes, danger of survival, dangers of predators, you know. And all these threats and dangers meant they always had to have this survival instinct on. Something would go wrong. Something is going to eat me up. I may not have food for tonight, right? And so, because it was a matter of life and death, our human brains are wired for negativity bias. So, if I share a negative information with you, your brain will respond significantly stronger with a lot of stimuli and signals versus a positive information. Now, scientific studies support that there is an existence and impact of this negative bias that human beings are being having it for generations. And research has shown that we react to negative news not only in a much more amplified manner, but we also have a tendency to share it with more people than the positivity, which means we not only absorb the negative information or the negative stimuli more, we also spread it more. And this has got nothing to do with AI. This is purely how the human brain functions. Now, the good news is that our brains can be rewired. There's a science called neuroplasticity, which means your brain can actually be rewired. That's what I think leaders have to do. So, how do you rewire the brain? Well, the most important thing in order to rewire the brain is to think about your role as the leader is not simply to tell people that this is your organization and this is your mission, but think about creating an environment where, and again, just let's remove the AI hat and the technology hat for now, where you would create a culture where innovation, thinking, creativity would thrive. How do you do that? Innovation has a positive correlation. I'm writing a chapter in my book with optimism. Dr. Islam just talked about how she had nothing and she built this whole company. That's positivity. That's optimism. If you don't have optimism in you, you cannot innovate. So let me give you an example of Alfred Sloan, who was the CEO of General Motors from 1920s to 1940s, you know, and that's when General Motors became one of the most successful organizations. He successfully, if you've never read about it, I encourage you to read about it. He successfully rewired the brains of the entire organization. How did he do that? Well, a couple of things. He dismantled the hierarchy-based organization and he created organization based on product lines, okay? But one of the most interesting things he did was he asked each product division to dismantle and make their own product obsolete after a certain point in time. Now, what did that do was that before your competitor comes in with a new product or customer expectations change, you yourself are saying that, oh, my product no longer works, because there's a timeline to that. You have to say that your own product is now no longer working, and you have to come up with a new one. This is kind of a self belief and a self-innovation discipline that he introduced. And it's amazingly powerful because he rewired the human brain to think very differently. We usually, and I come from a product background, I was building products and platforms. You think that your product is like your baby, you can never kill your own product. You designed it, you build it. But imagine if you are being incentivized, your brain is being programmed that you have to kill your own product and come up with a new one. And it's not a fight political between a GM is a big corporate to figure out whose product actually is going to accelerate. And that's one of the reasons many times innovation dies in big corporates, because we feel we're competing with other divisions and our peers, and our product has to survive the longest, right? Because I build it, how can I be wrong, right? So again, a very powerful and great example of fostering innovation, rewiring the human brain, that was responding to innovation and changing times much faster. So this is a very interesting one. I have always worked in big corporates, 100,000 years old organizations, corporate American, big multinationals. And there's always this very strong system of collaboration, which is great for innovation, but also at times it kills innovation, a very controversial thought. How many of you know the Ash conformity experiment? Oh, I thought many people would know. Maybe I'm the only one who reads these crazy things. Okay, so it's an interesting one. You can apply it to your children also. It's an effective parenting method. So what Ash did in 1950s was that he did an experiment when he put certain people in the room, and the people had to look at the length of a line, and then they were shown 3 other lines, and they had to tell which line in its length is equivalent to this line that they're being shown, okay? Now, what the people did not know was there were additional people planted by the experimenter whose job was just to misguide them. So even if I'm 100% sure that this length equates to A, there would be people in the room who would be saying that, no, this equals to B, okay? And guess what were the results? When majority of the people gave the wrong answer first, people who thought that, no, this line actually in terms of its length is equivalent to A would still side with the majority. They went against their opinion, against their perception, against logic, because logic was clearly showing them that the length of the line is equivalent to A. Why they did that? Because human brain works in a very interesting way. We want to be part of a group. We don't want to alienate ourselves. We don't want to stand out in a crowd that actually I have a different opinion. And I think that method of rising with the majority is very important in today's world of AI. So if I am surrounded by 5 people in my team who feel that AI is the end of the world, it's going to change our jobs, it's going to take my jobs, I'm having a fear-based mindset, even if there are 2 people in the room who actually do not have that mindset, I would impact their thinking. Because it just needs 3 like me, and 3 is a majority when it comes to 2 other people or even 1 other person. Guess what? I'll change their mindset. I'll change their opinion. And this phenomenon is extremely, extremely powerful. That's why I always make sure that I talk to my children what I want them to do independently. So if 2 are on my side, the 3rd one would definitely agree. And I think another valuable insight was, how do people react to change, particularly when the change is announced at one point in time to different parts of the company? And this is what AI is doing today. That's why people are responding more with fear than with receptivity and positivity. That's why responsibility is missing in today's world of AI. People more talk and comment about the biases and the negativity that AI would introduce in our lives, but talk less about the ownership and accountability that they need to take. So a logical answer, and I am a very logical person, is actually to create a logic prevailing environment. Many of us were here when internet came in. You remember the dial-up sound that you had to wait for. Now is the world where if your Wi-Fi doesn't connect and there's a password required, we get irritated, but we're the same generation that waited for that dial-up tone. Human beings tend to do 2 things when a change happens. They deny its impact, or they exaggerate the impact. In 1995, Newsweek published an article. It was predicting that the internet would fail because it will never become portable. It would remain in your house. It will never be cost effective. It would be extremely expensive. And then internet would never become an every household usage item because it would just be out of reach for so many people. And I think this is important that we as leaders look in the history and pick up those examples. World has survived after the internet. There are changes, but it's also about figuring out creatively what new roles, new industries internet created for us. AI is like the internet. It is like the electricity. The idea of electricity was not the story of a light bulb. It was how electricity rewired so many different industries. AI is very similar. The idea is not that ChatGPT can now solve my problem. It can rewire and rewrite so many different industries. So we are standing at the edge of a new industrial revolution. And I don't think it's a eureka moment. It's more of a spectrum. And we are seeing the entering light of the spectrum. And we as leaders have to understand the growing potential of this, but also the responsibility that we have on our shoulders in order to scale it. The best example that I think of when I think about AI is the horses and the cars, because I think it's one of the most powerful examples of how human beings respond to change. And it has a lot of similarity with AI, even though you would think like I'm calling AI a car and comparing it to the times of horse and car. But bear with me for a minute. So when horses were replaced by cars, there was a lot of resistance by the incumbent horse industry. And there was anti-car advertisements being taken out. There were protests going on in the city. And before the turn of the century, PI was the first province in Canada where cars were tested. And it was almost like 8 to 10 cars in 1908 which were on the road. And immediately protest happened and they stopped. Does anybody know why? Because the horses were in danger. The horses did not like the sound of the cars. They were not safe. But what are you trying to protect? You're trying to protect the past. But the real motivation was that there was a lot of propaganda going on to predict how the cars are making the planet unsafe, how they're making the cities unsafe, how the horses are in so much of trouble, they do not like the cars. Is that there was a whole population industry which was actually dependent on the horses, the stables, the hay that was being produced. It was estimated that in the US, every family in that century was directly or indirectly dependent on a horse. Imagine all those shops, all those businesses know that we will not have any livelihood because the horses are not here to stay. But guess what happened? There were car repair shop. The tower in the US where, which is the official horse association, then has now the head offices of Benz and Ford, right? More jobs were created, actually. People had to change their mindset and their skill set because you're no longer repairing a carriage, but actually have to learn how to repair a car, right? But it was a massive positive change. And I think the auto industry created so much of employment and so much of new skill set. That's one of the massive changes that we as human beings have experienced in terms of industry changes. So optimism about the future, how you as leaders articulate the job creation, the skill set change is extremely important. AI is not only in terms of financial services, which is my industry, where we talk about cost optimization. You don't need a contact center now. Bots can answer the calls. You can have a much better income to cost ratio. But think of its applications in healthcare industry. Even if I am not belonging to that industry, it's my job as a leader to be educated and make sure I tell my people about it. If I was a regulator, I would mandate CEO of every company needs to get educated on AI and not just hire a chief AI officer and make sure that it's that person's job. If you're not educated about something, and I went back to school when I realized that most of my clients are investing in AI, and I need to learn a lot more than what is beyond the surface. So understanding what's happening in other industries is extremely, extremely important in order for you to apply AI. Don't think I'm in financial services, I just have to limit myself to educating myself about how AI can be applied in financial services. My grandfather used to say this because I'm a problem solver. I solve every problem. And he used to tell me, Anna, every problem doesn't need to be solved. And it used to bother me so much. Like, what do you mean by every problem doesn't need to be solved? Of course, it has to be solved. But this is a fact, actually. There will be problems in your personal life, professional life. And I think it's very important to understand that AI is not there to solve every problem. And I'll give a small example. Marriott was one of my clients, and their CEO for EMEA was telling me how at buffets, so much of food is wasted, because people generally are going towards a particular kind of food and the remaining is just wasted. And without AI, they simply figured out the food wastage and started changing the menu and reducing the quantities to make sure that there's less food wastage. Nothing to do with AI. Sustainable agriculture, solar panels. I mean, there are countries and cities which get sunshine almost every day of life, but they do not have solar panels. It does not require AI. So think first about the problem that you need to solve and think, can I solve it without AI? Maybe the answer is yes. I think the other most important part is, are you solving a problem which makes someone's life simpler, faster, or better? And I think this is a great tool, and a great example is of Mary Anderson. Going back to cars, the cars that came initially did not have any wiper for the windshield, and she was in New York City and the driver refused to drive because it was raining. And it was true, when cars came, people did not drive the cars in bad weather because there was no way for the snow or the rain to actually wipe out. And she came with a windshield wiper. So in order for us to encourage innovation, it doesn't necessarily mean that I have to think about a problem that actually millions of people across the world are having, and I need to then make sure I use AI. No, the starting point has to be, are you making someone's life better, simpler, faster? Before I go to my next slide, I would just want all of you for a second, to close your eyes and think of a happy person. Think of a happy person. How many of you had an image of a woman? A man? Okay, it's almost equal. Few more hands for men. So basically, when AI algorithms were being asked about a happy person, they almost every time generated images of happy men. And when they were being asked about unhappy people, they almost every time generated an image of a woman. Now, of course, it's very common that women are more expressive in sharing their emotions. Like in most of my meetings, I'm discussing what my kids did, and I would see that my male colleagues do it, but very, very rarely. They're not as expressive as me, where I'm so much in love with my children, and I just can't like start a meeting or end a meeting without, not talking about them. So it's the nature. But imagine the algorithmic bias that exists and how we have to be aware of it. This is humanizing AI. I play with a lot of applications, and once I gave a command of 5 CEOs discussing fintech on a stage of a big conference. And the image that was generated was all 5 men. When I asked, and there are women CEOs, the application was a very famous one. It did not even have the real face of a woman. It was a caricature image that was actually created to create that woman's image. So I think what bothers me the most is that if it took us if it's going to take us with or without AI, 169 years to bridge the gap of gender parity, that's what it will take as per United Nations. Imagine with AI, this 169 years can become 500 years. because these machines are not operating by themselves. We are giving them the input. I would just play, okay, I'll just go through this slide and then probably play a quick video. So Brenda has not told anyone about her pregnancy other than her husband and her doctor. And Brenda goes online and she is seeing stroller ads everywhere. And this is extremely creepy because she did not tell about her pregnancy to anyone. So how did that happen? Well, the fintech agency behind the company of the stroller ads, of course, bragged about the fact that they could anticipate a life event. The AI did not have any medical record or data. It anticipated her pregnancy based on a change of apps that she installed on her phone, based on her husband's late-night pharmacy visits, which were picked up due to geolocation ring fencing, and her grocery order changed, which include a lot of ginger tea. So, and it's not unusual. Many times we are thinking about something and all of a sudden we see that online, we're like, how did that happen, right? And I think it's important to spread some education about how these AI models worked. So later this firm had to put all of this data set behind a privacy wall. They had to make sure that their models are not being used for predicting lifestyle events. But there are a couple of things when it comes to AI and data privacy that will make sure that AI is as human as we want it to be. First, inference is not equal to consent. When you're inferring life events based on a data that the customer gave for a completely different reason, but they gave the consent for that data consent is not to be used for actually predicting life events, even though you have the consent. The second are the shadow data sets. I don't know how many people are aware, but shadow data sets like the noise behind your screen when you're typing, the speed at which you type, your cursor trails, they reveal a lot more than the actual data set. And there's no law, no governance around how the shadow data sets are used. The re-identification trap. Anonymized data can always be linked back to an individual. All you need to do is combine 3 sets of anonymized data and you can actually trace it back to a particular individual. Your digital footprint, once it's digital, it's always there. People who post pictures of their children on Instagram and think after that, oh no, I will delete it, probably no. There's nothing that's ever digital can actually leave the digital footprint. Now, what does this mean? This means us as leaders educating people, regardless of the shareholder value that all of us have to drive, as to what is the responsibility when they are giving the consent. What is the responsibility of creating this education, that what exactly it means when I'm actually leveraging your data for giving you personalized products and offers. I'll just play a short video, if you can have it, to talk about the biases in AI.
Today, we pose this question to new powers, making bets on artificial intelligence, hope towers. The Amazonians peek through windows blocking deep blues as faces increment scars. Old burns, new urns, collecting data chronicling our past, often forgetting to deal with gender, race, and class. Again, I ask, ain't I a woman? Face by face, the answers seem uncertain. Young and old, proud icons are dismissed. Can machines ever see my queens as I view them? Can machines ever see our grandmothers as we knew them? Ida B. Wells, data science pioneer, hanging facts, stacking stats on the lynching of humanity, teaching truths hidden in data, each entry and omission, a person worthy of respect. Shirley Chisholm, unbought and unbossed, the first Black Congresswoman, but not the first to be misunderstood by machines well-versed in data-driven mistakes. Michelle Obama, unabashed and unafraid to wear her crown of history, yet her crown seems a mystery to systems unsure of her hair. A wig, a bouffant, a toupee, maybe not. Are there no words for our braids and our locks? Does relaxed hair and sunny skin make Oprah the first lady? Even for her face well known, some algorithms fault her, echoing sentiments that strong women are men. We laugh, celebrating the successes of our sisters with serena smiles. No label is worthy of our beauty.
So these are models of very big companies who are very successful. And of course, after this, they changed those models. But I think I made the point. I would just end it with one statement. Most of the companies have a North Star as innovation or being a leader in this industry or that industry. I think the North Star for us should be human well-being and dignity. Wherever we reach, whether it's artificial general intelligence, whether it's any other technology, what do we become in that journey, and who do we become when we reach there? And do we leave our humanity behind, or do we take it with us? I think that's the most important question of our times. Thank you.
And thank you. So, everyone, you are free now for about 45 minutes. It's going the afternoon session. We will have Karim Begir among our speakers, founder of Instatib, the African Tunisian success story. So, when you are about to leave the room, you will head straight to the right, donc on your right, and you will find everything you would need for a very light lunch. So